Now it says Hunter's been convicted. If you guys see that. Hopefully we're going to get a news conference here real soon that'll let us. Now it says Hunter's been convicted. Oh, shit. If you guys see that. I just said that. So let me know what you guys think. If you heard that, Joker, let me know. We're going to continue to watch here. It says he's been convicted, so we'll see what happens. And then we'll see if Daddy Joe lives up to his word and does not pardon him. But I guarantee it he does, if this is true and Hunter Biden's been convicted.
Email.
Supposedly he's been convicted. I'm emailing or I'm texting my co-host, Brendan.
Oh, well, Twitter.
Text.
We'll see. Hopefully we get something here real soon. and find out. Because right now, if for you guys that are just joining in, so far the Hunter Biden has been found guilty, or he's been convicted. So let's say that. So we're waiting for the official word to come out, and we'll see.
Email.
So we'll want to find out here soon, hopefully, if somebody comes out and shares what he's been convicted of. And that's all we're waiting for right now. Let me know if you guys, anyone else is seeing anything differently. I'm going to try to find other ones here that are talking about it. What do I got on now? I don't know what I've got on right now. AP. I got an Associated Press on right now. So I'm going to search around here and see what I can find. Oop, let's go to live here.
Donald Trump is the first former U.S. president.
Oh, it said on Newsmax, it says Hunter Biden found guilty on all counts in gun case. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to serve jail time. Count one, false statement and purchase. Let me put this up here real quick so you guys can see it. We'll put that over top of that one. Excuse me. This is from Newsmax. So you guys can watch this and see what this one says. I'm going to shut the volume off on this other one. Hold on one. Oh, count two, making false statements during a firearm purchase. Let's shut the volume off on this one and shrink. And where's the other counts? Where's that? Where'd it go? Oh, come on. Where did you go? Well, some bitch. Hold on. We're going to switch over to. I'm going to get back here real quick. Live. 1 second here. Well, now they took it off. That's only two counts they found. Hunter faces 25 years in prison. Go back to live again. They just had all the counts going on. This is ABC News. Let's watch this.
Who turned and patted his lead attorney, Abby Lowell, on the back. He turned around and immediately shook the hands of his paralegals. And then once the court was ultimately dismissed, it was a very brief reading of that verdict. He went around and hugged his legal team, and then he immediately went behind that barrier to grab a hold of his wife and hug his wife, which, David, I will say was one of the most striking aspects of this trial was sort of
this is why I don't watch ABC News.
The First Lady Joe Biden was here nearly every single day.
Oh, it's so happy. Oh my God.
His uncle, the brother and sister of President Joe Biden, Valerie and Jimmy, had been in the courtroom as well. Jimmy was in the courtroom, but actually and again, strikingly, this was one of the times where we saw the least amount of Bidens in the courtroom. Just Jimmy Biden and his wife were in there. It appeared that potentially Valerie Biden was late and potentially missed the reading of the verdict. They sealed off that courtroom, and only after the verdict had been read did she rush down the aisle and go to greet Hunter's wife, Melissa. So some very striking dynamics in there. But again, Hunter sort of nodding along with that verdict.
Olivia, we're looking at pictures right now of First Lady Jill Biden. As you point out, she was there for the trial every day but one. She was not in the courtroom for the verdict.
She was not in the courtroom for the verdict. And I can tell you, David, as I sprinted out of the courtroom to come down to you as it was after wrapped up there, she was heading in just as I was heading out. She was rushing through that lobby, appearing, we don't know if they intended for her to not be here for Valerie, but it certainly does appear as if it's possible that they missed the reading of the verdict. It happened quite quickly from when it came down just after 11. Her clerk, the judge's clerk, came into the courtroom to say that the verdict had been reached, and just moments later, it was being read. And you could kind of almost sort of sense what that verdict was going to be initially when they walked the jury in. Again, something we have talked about before, the jury not looking at Hunter Biden. One of the jurors actually took his seat smiling, which was quite striking to see him smiling right before that verdict was read. But again, Jill Biden not in the courtroom. And again, the least amount of Bidens essentially that we have seen in the courtroom for the reading of the verdict.
First Lady not there for the verdict, though there just about every other day of this trial to show her support. Olivia, thank you for the color inside the courtroom. I'm going to bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. John, some shock from Hunter Biden's legal team here, and you've also heard from a very close confidant of Hunter Biden.
Yeah, the one-word response I got from a very close friend of Hunter Biden's is stunned. Absolutely stunned.
Shut up.
I had spoken to Hunter Biden's, some people in his inner circle.
We're going to switch back to Newsmax. I don't like Channel 4.
By so many people to get to the bottom of the Biden family businesses, and we're not really a lot closer to that point in all of this. We're not kind of going to what you were also saying about the framing of this. The response to the Trump verdict was that from Democrats and a lot of the liberal media was that we need to respect the rule of law. We would expect, I think, Ed, to hear those same exact words from those same pundits, but I won't hold my breath and wait.
Yes. Well, you're absolutely right. I suspect we're going to hear from people on the left, hey, justice has been served. It's really awful for the president's son, but now Donald Trump has to take his medicine as well. You can see the left trying to do that. And they're also going to try to say, hey, this is not the nominee for president. This is the son of. We should have sympathy for his addiction. They've played that card before and say, and I suspect the left will try to say there's a big difference between the son of a president as opposed to a former president himself, who's now a quote unquote convicted felon. So they're going to play that game. But I think you put your finger on something really important, which is since his father, Joe Biden, has said he will not pardon his son, Hunter, what is Hunter going to do to try to prevent time?
I don't believe it.
Will he start talking about the family business? Will he start spilling anything? Is he going to stay loyal to the family? His father said, I'm not going to prevent him from going to prison. Hunter knows a lot about what was happening with Biden Inc., if you want to call it that. And you're right. There's a story in Politico, a very mainstream media publication just a couple of days ago, saying that they raked in millions and millions of dollars, which House Republicans have been talking about for a couple of years now. And the mainstream media, the left in this country, has largely tuned out. So, yes, this is a big development, but you're absolutely right. The bigger question is, what kind of criminal liability might there be down the road for others in the family, including the president himself? The possibility of the money. I mean, think about the loan repayment, quote unquote, that came in from Joe Biden's brother, James, and his wife, Sarah, going to Joe Biden's bank account, money they gained in China. That has not been fully explored. It's been raised by the House Republicans, but there's been no criminal charges pressed on any of the business dealings, just on the gun charges here and the tax charges that are coming in September. So there, you have to wonder if this opens the door on the Biden family as well, and whether or not federal prosecutors, investigators, the FBI, what else do they know? What else might be coming down the pike?
Yeah, well, we know later today, not directly related to this, but in terms of what's going to happen to President Biden and the Biden administration, is Congress will take up debate on putting Merrick Garland under contempt of Congress. We'll see that. But it is an interesting idea to think as they progress to this next trial, Ed, once this one in Delaware is over, in the discovery process and when the new evidence is revealed, what in the tax aversion avoidance scheme of Hunter Biden's, does that shine any light on President Biden's role in all this? And the reason why I asked that question is because some of these text messages that were entered into evidence in this case were so explicit. It was overwhelming for the jury this time. Obviously, in just 3 hours of deliberation, they had to convict him. I mean, and so much of this stuff we had seen before. We had talked about it before. We were admonished for talking about it initially when the Hunter Biden laptop came out. But I think that's also a massive takeaway from all this, and another just kind of tarnish on the reputations of those 51 intelligence officials.
That's
This
right.
stuff is real. Hunter Biden is a troubled individual. Yes, he had addiction problems, but where else did that lead other than the illegal possession of a firearm?
Well, and you're pointing at something else really important. We briefly mentioned former President Trump, and it looks like we're seeing Hunter Biden emerge
is,
with
yeah.
his wife, right?
His wife, and is that? I don't know if that
Can't tell if
doesn't.
it's
Is
his
that
daughter.
Jill? That's the first lady.
That's his daughter.
Behind, yeah, with the white, yeah.
Yeah, because you see the Secret Service protection there, and looks like that's
Well, I
Joe
see
Biden's
Valerie
sister.
Biden, who's
Yeah,
Joe
Valerie
Biden's
Biden
sister.
right there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're getting in the car. So, unlike as was the case with the New York state court, federal court, no cameras inside. You don't have that moment where they actually read the verdict, but we do know it took place just a few moments ago, and we're waiting for some more information to come down. When will the sentencing be? Hunter Biden and his attorneys right there choosing not to go out and face the cameras and say that they will appeal. Maybe Abby Lowell will come out and do that, but this is a very fluid situation, a big, massive development in the campaign, in the Biden family, and we'll see where it goes from here, Ed. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, you also make an important point about Hunter Biden not facing the cameras. Think about Donald Trump, the former president. As soon as he was found guilty on those 34 counts, first thing he did, meets with his lawyers. His team was there in New York, and he faced the music. He faced the cameras. Said, "I'm going to appeal this. I'm going to take it on. I'm innocent." And he faced the music. And I mentioned Donald Trump because you were just talking a moment ago about those 51 former intel officials. Think about the lies they told with that letter, that the Hunter Biden laptop they claimed falsely was Russian disinformation. And then you had Facebook and Twitter before it was owned by Elon Musk, big tech, in cahoots with the FBI and others, these three-letter agencies, and saying, don't deal with the laptop. It's fake. It's fake. It's phony. Don't use that before the 2020 election. I bring it back to Donald Trump because in those debates, you remember, John, he was talking about the laptop. And Joe Biden himself, it wasn't just the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe Biden said it's fake. It's fake. It's not real.
Right. And you had the Leslie Stahl exchange with Donald Trump in 60 Minutes right before the election. There's so many things here. Will anyone apologize for being so adamant about that? All right. Let's welcome in now to join the conversation former federal prosecutor Joe DeGeneva to get reaction on the conviction of Hunter Biden. Joe, one of the things, great to have you with us, first of all, but one of the things I think that this conviction and the fact that the jury in Delaware came back in 3 hours so quickly with a conviction here, it just shows us how absurd the original plea deal was in the first place.
Well, I think that is actually the moral of this story. There are heroes here, but they're not the prosecutors. The jury did its job, which is unusual. As you know, I was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. It's a small southern town. And today, just think Mississippi, 1964. So I think this jury was brave. They had the Biden family sitting in that courtroom, putting pressure on them by their mere presence. But I think the real story here is this trial never would have occurred had it not been for Judge Noreika and turning down that horrendous plea deal that David Weiss, the special counsel, presented to her. It was a farce then. It's a farce now. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware should be embarrassed, notwithstanding this guilty verdict, because what they've done by doing this is they've ignored all the international kickback cases against Hunter, his father, and the rest of the family. This is a conviction, no doubt, but it is a fraudulent conviction in the sense that it was designed to divert attention away from the president, and it's done so a little bit, but I think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think it's now going to bring a focus on the Biden crime family in a way that my friends in Delaware never would have expected.
And that was what Ed and I were talking about before. I'll ask one more question and let Ed follow up with some questions as well. But as we look ahead towards the California tax aversion case, will anything be uncovered in the process of that trial that will shine new light on Joe Biden's possible connection to these business deals. We still have so much money that have come in from foreign entities, Joe. And as I point out all the time, there's no work product to show. There are no invoices for any of that money coming in. We don't know what it went for, other than maybe the Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania, which is also another big red flag. But what can we expect to learn?
Well, the problem for us is that the Justice Department purposely allowed the statute of limitation to expire on the big tax cases that would have involved all of a lot of these foreign kickback amounts. The tax cases in California are nothing burgers by comparison to that. So I don't expect anything to come out in those trials that's going to touch the president or the rest of the family. Otherwise, David Weiss never would have brought them.
Joe, I wonder, this is Ed, and I wonder if you mentioned Delaware and the tight-knit Biden family, as you called it, the crime family, and they've held so much power, and all of a sudden in Wilmington this morning, justice maybe and accountability being brought to Hunter. What does it mean for the president of the United States, though, just 2 weeks out from the first head-to-head debate that's at least on the schedule with former President Donald Trump? Do you think there'll be increased pressure on Joe Biden to step aside, that maybe some Democrats will say you're already behind in the polls, we don't know what else may be coming down the pike, and that this may be a chance for Democrats to reset?
It should be a chance for them to reset, but they seem to not want to do it. They seem to be stuck in place. I think one thing you won't see Joe Biden doing a lot of is calling Donald Trump a convicted felon. Now that his son is a convicted felon, or will be when he is sentenced. By the way, nobody's a convicted felon until the sentence is imposed, whether it's Donald Trump or Hunter Biden. But they may have to temper the president's nastiness. And by the way, one of the things you notice about Joe Biden, especially when they get him juiced up on upper drugs for his public appearances like the debate and the speech at the major public speeches like the State of the Union, when he gets juiced up with drugs and medications, he gets very, very nasty. He's naturally that way anyway, but it's re-emphasized by the drugs. By the way, I don't know why the press corps doesn't have a standing question for the White House physician. What medications is the president on? Do you give him special medications when he's giving speeches? Is he being given uppers for specific events? These are very important questions because they involve the ability of the president of the United States to function as a president, making major decisions. It's pretty obvious the president is not functioning well and that he's very, very incapable of making major judgments.
Joe, what do you think is going to come down as far as a sentence for Hunter Biden in this case?
Probation. He's not going to get jail time. He's a first offender. They're going to show that he was a drug addict, that he's probably had alcoholism problems. They're going to do exactly the reverse of what they did during the trial. They're going to make him look like he was the saddest sack that ever walked on the face of the earth, which is appropriate for them to do. I think Judge Noriega made her point. I don't think she'll lock him up. I think she'll require drug treatment, weekly testing, and a host of other things. I don't think she'll do home confinement. I don't think it serves any purpose. The fact that he will be a convicted felon is what matters. And of course, he won't be able to buy a gun.
There's that. Ed?
Joe, I wonder what you also think. When we had you on live on Newsmax 2 right after the Donald Trump verdict in New York, you very acutely pointed out that the U.S. Supreme Court now, later this month, we anticipate,
And of course, I've been talking this whole time, and nobody could hear me, like an idiot. And I turned off the sound. Thanks, Tammy. I would look down when you said that. But I believe that that he's not going to face any time, and he's going to walk scot-free on all this. And I'm waiting to see if we can get an official version of the guilty pleas from like a court spokesperson or somebody like that. No, it wasn't you, Rick. I was agreeing with you. That was the stupidest comment. After all, no one was harmed by this gun. Well, and Alan said reckless endangerment. Definitely reckless endangerment. And somebody could have been hurt by this gun, by a crackhead drunk having possession of a gun in his hand. And you know how people hallucinate, especially on crack and other drugs that he was doing. Who knows what all he was doing? Somebody could have been killed just by it wouldn't have been an accident because he shouldn't have had a gun in the first place. But I don't think he's going to do any time. What do you guys think? And we're going to wait here and see. Hopefully we get some kind of account for this and an official record, which we probably won't, but I am going to look and see if KJP makes a statement on this, because I know Daddy Joe said he was not going to pardon him, but I don't know about this. Let's see what this guy's having to say here.
Was when David Muir of ABC News interviewed President Biden over in Normandy last week or earlier this week and asked him point blank if he would accept the verdict out of this jury in Wilmington, Delaware. The president said he would, and then whether he would ever pardon his son, and he said he would not. Of course, that exchange leaves open the possibility that Mr. Biden could at some point potentially commute the sentence of his son, which is not the same thing as pardoning someone. We expect to see shortly a reaction from the White House, rather like the one we saw in response to the verdict in the Trump trial in New York, where a spokesperson for the White House counsel's office simply said that they respect the jury system and shall have nothing further to say about the matter. Here, of course, we could expect as well the language that has now, by this point, become familiar, wherein we hear that the president loves and respects his son and is proud of him for fighting for sobriety and reconstituting his life after addiction. But beyond that, we really shouldn't expect to have that the White House or the president himself will have too much to say, unless, of course, the president decides to field the question in some other setting, such as a sit-down interview. He's been doing a few more lately with veteran reporters such as Mr. Muir and Aaron Burnett of CNN, but mostly the president's sit-down interviews have been with the likes of Howard Stern, Conan O'Brien, and Jay Shetty. It's also worth noting that there is a long lineage in the annals of the presidency of relatives of the president of the United States causing embarrassment for them. This goes back to the 1960 campaign when Richard Nixon felt that he was undone in part by allegations of secret dealings between his brother Don Nixon and Howard Hughes, the billionaire financier. And then the first time a president of the United States ever sat for a grand jury interrogation.
Okay, now that's exactly right. Rick said on there, Hunter Biden, a convicted felon. Now we are going to use that every time we talk about Hunter Biden, or we talk about Joe Biden. We talk about Joe Biden, you know, the son of the felon. They want to do it to Trump. We can do it back to them. A martyr incoming. That's possible. They're going to make this plea out to be like he's a victim of drugs. You do drugs because you choose to do drugs, not because somebody makes you do them. He chose this. He should also have been convicted of trafficking, sex trafficking, and everything like that, with taking those hookers and flying them across state to state for himself. And they need to find out that one video I showed the other day on my live stream of him with those girls. They looked really underage. Now, we know that tax case is coming up here soon, and that's in California, but I don't see that one going anywhere. Like they said earlier, that they let the statute of limitations run on the biggest part of the money that they received from China and Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, all those places. And it's the minor offenses are what they've got in court, so he probably won't have anything on that one. it will always be someone else's fault. It always is. A mule conviction, too. I didn't hear about that one, Alan. I didn't know there was a mule conviction. But there were so many things that he could have and should have been prosecuted for and wasn't. And like they said, it's a first-time offense. So he's not going to do any jail time. Plus, he's a part of the Biden crime family syndicate. So nobody's being held accountable for that stuff. I'm still hoping that we get a press conference or something. So, but I'm not sure who will be doing that, if at all, if they'll do a press conference on this. And now they don't think that white correspondent we just saw said he doesn't think that the White House will do a press briefing on it. Oh, let me look at this. Oh, 3 waiting scheduled for 2:30. There's supposed to be a White House press briefing. What time is it? Oh, I can't see. Oh shit, it's only 10 till 12. According to the AP, there's going to be a press briefing at 2:30. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Email.
Yeah, Clinton, nothing sticks. Yeah, that bitch should have been taken out a long time ago, but of course, nothing happens. Yes, Tammy, you're right. He needs to be convicted of more than a gun crime. And we'll have to see what happens. Because we know how many times Clintons have done stuff and has gotten off, and miraculously people have been killeried around them that has anything to do with them, and nothing happens. And they can destroy evidence, all these emails and stuff, and nothing happens to them. We've seen it over and over again, and nothing's been done. And they are definitely in cahoots with each other. So I don't know what to expect from these people. But definitely not surprised on the outcome of this. But they have got to have time to make up their fabrication. Oh, you're right, Tammy. The Democrats are working their way to try to walk back like they've been doing, for Biden's whole political career. They've had to walk back things that he's done. He's been a failure the whole time. So yeah, Tammy, you're right. They've got to make up a lie. And KJP is not that good of a liar, so they should bring in Peppermint Patty Jensake to tell this lie, because she's good at lying, at least. They dug up laws to go after Trump. Most definitely. They made up laws that didn't even exist. Not even the feds wanted to prosecute Trump on any of this stuff. And Fat Braggs just decides to make them up on his own, with, I believe, help with this judge, too. So I don't think Fat Braggs has done this on his own. But there's so much. This has been an interesting year, that's for sure. And that's why we've got less than 5 months to get things in order and get these Democrats the hell out of here so things can happen. Jinsake. Yep. They need to get her in there, because at least she's a good liar. She can look straight in the camera and lie to you and make it sound good. But then you got KJP's got shuffled through her book going, we're really clear about this, and until she finds the page with her lies on it that she can read. So, raggedy, Piskanky. Yeah, that was good. But we know he's guilty on all counts. I just still don't believe they let him walk away. Anybody else, they'd have been cuffed up, sent to prison. Because I've had guys before I retired, come to prison on less stuff than what he's done. Just possession of a gun. Without a license or anything like that. So, and those are, of course, the illegal guns, you can buy in the trunk of a car or a van in an alley in the middle of the night. But where's the outrage from these gun people that him having an illegal gun that could have possibly killed people? There's not going to be a word said from these liberal idiots. Because a guy that has no faculties when you're on drugs could have killed somebody easily with that gun. And these are what the people are pushing to have so-called assault weapons, which is not an assault weapon. It's a stub-nosed gun. I don't even know what it was, a 38 probably, or a 357. I'm not sure. But you're going to hear nothing out of them. There's not going to be a peep from these people. Let's see what she has to say.
Verdict had been reached, and a short time ago, we saw Hunter Biden leaving the courthouse with his wife Melissa by his side and also holding hands with First Lady Jill Biden. Now, she entered the courthouse after the verdict was read and then departed with the Biden entourage a short time after that. I also saw the so-called sugar brother, Kevin Morris, and he has been by the side, too, of Hunter and Hunter's wife throughout this process. He has provided millions of dollars as well as emotional support over the past several years to Hunter Biden. And also, I'd like to highlight, this is just the beginning of Hunter Biden's legal and financial woes here. We had heard recent reports that Morris's financial support, $5 million roughly, is now being cut off.
130.
He's not going to be supplementing the financial status of Hunter Biden anymore. We know that there's also the civil matters pending with the ex-wife, Kathleen Buell. She says that he owes her about millions of dollars as well. They divorced in a difficult breakup several years ago now. And there's also the love child with London Roberts. She's doing a tell-all book and blasting President Joe Biden, the First Lady Jill Biden, and also saying that Hunter has not met his own daughter yet, but that they talk over Zoom. And most importantly, there will be the sentencing coming up in this case. Possible appeals could be pending. And lastly, we also know that later this year, going into September, there's a slew of federal tax-related charges. That could also be quite a serious legal matter for Hunter in this case. Back to you, John and Ed.
All right, Alana Austin, gosh, you've been reporting outside the courtroom all morning long. We've heard that heckler. No signs of them slowing down in the background. And if any.
Now you see where, yeah, right. Coach a revolver. Did I say semi-auto? I probably did. That's all I own is semi-autos. I don't like revolvers. And shouldn't there be charges for the sister? Yes, definitely. Illegally disposing of his gun that a 60-year-old man found in a dumpster or garbage can. I think she threw it at a convenience store. Yeah, she should have definitely never done that. But you know something? It'll never happen either. It'll never happen either. She won't get charged with anything either. Yeah, because we're going to see the minor sentencing that they're going to make him, but they're going to try to bust ass and sentence Trump for a no victim crime and a sham at that. Exactly. Keep the kids away from him, but people don't even see that. People don't see it, and they still let their kids get near Joe Biden. You would think after seeing him sniff all these kids, you keep that thing away from people, and they don't do it. What is she saying? It's probably the same stuff. Let's listen in.
The federal government and their foreign dealings and potential bribery and all of the information that's been coming out. That's what needs to be prosecuted. So yes, I'm very grateful for this victory. I think it's a solid win. It was a very quick decision on the part of the jury. So that's all good things. But let's get down to the real stuff.
Yeah, Christina, this is Ed. We have just a minute before we hit the top of the hour. To your point, Mike Davis, a conservative attorney who's been considered a possible attorney general in the second Trump administration, just posted on X that the real story is why the U.S. attorney in Delaware has not gone after the money, the millions of dollars that's poured into the Biden family. He goes on to say, if Hunter Biden were a black man, he'd be sent to prison.
Yes.
Joe Biden claims he won't pardon his son. Don't hold your breath. What's your final point here in the last minute we have?
Mike's exactly right. This is a distraction. It's a slap on the wrist for checking a box dishonestly when the Biden family has been raking in millions and millions of dollars. They've been selling access. They have been selling out the American people, and they have been doing corrupt foreign business practices for probably Biden's entire tenure. So great. It's a great verdict that we got a guilty verdict, but this, make no mistake about it, this is not justice, and this is not what the American people need.
All right, Christina, Bob, great to have you with us. So glad we could get you on, and also great to bring you some extra coverage as we.
Absolutely not. definitely not enough justice. But we'll see as far as the sentencing goes. They'll probably put it off for a month or two or something like that and see what happens. And of course, you know he's going to fight it. Of course, he's going to appeal it so he can stay out of prison if they even sentence him to prison. I doubt it. Maybe he'll just take it because he did plead guilty already to this crime when he thought he was getting a sweetheart deal. And as soon as the sweetheart deal went away, oh, I'm innocent. I didn't do that. And of course, that's the way it is. But inmates have told me, you know, so many times, this is why they say they are on drugs or they were on alcohol. They're addicted in some way when they commit a crime because they do go easier on them as far as sentencing goes. And almost every inmate that I've talked to when I was still working at the prison told me that. So, on top of that, we even had some Puerto Ricans and stuff in there that come and told me that they were schooled on how to get Social Security disability when they're young, healthy criminals.
Email.
They were schooled on how, because they take a test on their mental capacity, and they were told how to pass and how to fail the test, not to pass it, just so they can get disability. And they were still receiving it while they were in prison. Now, there's something wrong with that picture, too. You're right, Tammy. 25 years is not going to happen. But they did say somebody's coming on at 1:30. I don't think we're going to stick around for all of that because that's still an hour and a half away. Still got 2.5 hours for that twit KJP to come on. But we'll definitely go over some more of this tonight on the Conservative Viewpoint at 9 o'clock, guys. You got to stick around. And not stick around, but join me at 9 o'clock, everyone, for the Conservative Viewpoint, and we'll try to go over this. Oh, I should have turned that on. I want to see what that big mouth had to say, but I missed it. I was talking. People running their mouth. There's a guy running around there with a sign about Hunter or about Biden family crime, and he lists off some stuff about it. And I couldn't get a picture because it was pixelating. And it looked like everything was good on there, and it was funny as hell. So I'm going to let you guys go. So we found out he was guilty. We don't know what the sentence is going to be. We'll find out. I am going to watch that Twit KJP with her news conference. I don't like watching her. I can't stand listening to her lies, and it's a lie every time you turn around. But please join me tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, as we'll go over this. And we got a lot of news going out tonight. I got a lot of topics to go over. If we make it there or not from yesterday's show, that's okay. Join us in chat. Let us know what you guys think and the topics we go over and all this. We'll definitely go over this the first thing off the bat tonight. So until tonight, 9 o'clock, guys. I'll see you then.